Killer is Dead, a game featuring that ass, and that ass. What? Male or female? I don't judge. Let's begin this video with a simple question. Have you ever played a game from start to finish, only to reach the credits and wonder, what the fuck was that? What the fuck was all of that? Well, that's exactly what Killer is Dead feels like. I'm gonna do my best to stay away from spoilers, but honestly, it's hard to spoil anything since none of it actually makes sense. Welcome to the Nerd Syndicate. I am Not Syndrome, and today we're looking at, well, Killer is Dead. I mentioned it like 3 times or something. The game begins with Mondo, our main character, pursuing a target through the night. Now, right away, we're exposed to a very peculiar artistic choice. An artistic choice that I loved, but also hated. I can't see shit! This first stage does not involve much. We catch the target, he mentions something along the lines of something darkness, and then he dies. So with that, we immediately move to episode 2. Mondo gets a call, cutting his sexy time short, and we're tasked to kill a new target. Episode 2 is the first mission where we get to experience the combat in this game, and it's kinda weird. However, while it's weird at first, it doesn't take long to get used to it, and it's actually fairly fun, if not just a little too simple. Once you get used to how Mondo moves as you press the buttons, it's all pretty fine. We cut our way through a few waves of enemies as the tutorial happens. We meet our target and then we cut him down. Mondo being the target's replacement, we then watch a cutscene where the boss, Brian, talks with our dying target / ex-employee. Again, we witness a conversation along the lines of something darkness, and then he dies. Alright, so far, the story doesn't really make sense. The gameplay feels a little weird, but nothing you can get used to, and I'm just overall intrigued. Let's see what happens next. Episode 3 starts with a guy asking us to kill his neighbor. He mentions seeing a monster and hearing people scream at night. Obviously, we take the job and we're on our way. This stage is clearly inspired by Alice in Wonderland. I mean, even the NPC's named Alice. Place doesn't make sense, and it's just, what the hell am I looking at? We complete a few side missions through the stage, and then we finally reach the final room and...
Mondo, am I a tortured soul?
Yes! The answer is yes! Before all of this happens, Alice mentions a man called David. That's important, by the way. But that's pretty much all we get from her. Then we fight what I feel like is the less engaging boss in the game. Cut a few limbs off of it while dealing with these little pieces of shit. Thank God these things never show up again. They're so small, your regular attacks can barely touch them. And since you cannot touch them, they keep damaging you for no reason. I hate them, never use them again, execute the boss now. Now that we have executed Alice, the game decides to make a new type of mission available to us. Gigolo Missions. I honestly do not understand the point of having those since they feel really out of place in a game like this, but Gigolo Missions are still there. Gigolo Missions are all about buying gifts for beauties, going on a date with them, and then staring at them for sexy shots until you build enough guts to give them a gift. You can also find out what they like by putting on glasses that also lets you see their underwear, and once you fill their affection bar, a little cutscene happens and they give you a gift themselves, and it's a weapon upgrade. Oh no. Okay, putting something like this in the game isn't a problem in itself. I'd not see the point of it, especially since it plays like absolute trash, but they had to go and lock weapon upgrades behind these worthless, barely playable missions. Anyways, brush that aside and we start chapter 4. A woman called Moon River shows up at the office with a request. She asks you to kill a man called David, sounds familiar, who lives on the dark side of the moon. There are a few additional details such as she lived on the moon all her life, but now she can't because David has taken over, but it never really becomes that relevant, so fuck it. So just like that, we fly to the moon and reach a giant palace. We make our way inside to find a bunch of enemies we'll have to cut our way through. This is, in my opinion, where the game really starts. This stage is longer than anything we've seen so far, and there's quite a bit of combat and exploration to do in here. We get to see a bunch of new enemy types and...
Mondo-san, I've been meaning to meet you in person.
Not right now, Susan! Can't you see him on the fucking moon? This is also where the game introduces booty calls.
You haven't forgotten about me, have you?
They can...
How could you just leave me?
They can get...
You haven't forgotten about me, have you?
They can get really...
How long are you gonna keep me waiting?
Stop calling me! They can get incredibly annoying. Anyways, we make our way through the mansion and we finally face off against David. Seriously, dude? get dressed. This fight is actually pretty fun. We've had enough time by now to get used to how everything works, and while it may feel like button mashing at times, you can do some pretty neat stuff. We defeat David, but he somehow manages to escape as Mondo's robot arm malfunctions. And that's about as far as I'll go into explaining what's going on with the story. However, let me summarize everything important as vaguely as possible starting from here. We have Beats by Dr. Dre, Eye of the Tiger, Japan Edition, Fever Dreams, featuring your boy Mondo, KFC Fried Chicken, Giant Cookie Dough Monster, KFC Fried Chicken, but he sounds like this. He also takes a tiny Earth and gives you a tiny sun. That's never explained. Wanker Scramp, Terror Train, this. Whatever this is. Wanker Scramp. Your Friend, The Blue Unicorn, The Return of David, Electric Boogaloo. And more Wanker Scramp. And that's Killer is Dead. Literally. The story never really makes sense, and you kinda have to just roll with it. The overall gameplay is fun. You get a few chances to purchase upgrades to make Mondo a lot better, but it's nothing extremely deep. Graphically, we're looking at something interesting with a peculiar art style, but I cannot say as much about the OST. I cannot even remember a single track as I'm writing this review, which usually tells me the OST is nothing special. The game takes about 8 hours to beat, which makes it an interesting game to play over a weekend, but nothing else. If you see it on special and feel intrigued, I'd say go ahead, but it's not really worth its full price. Killer is Dead certainly has its fair share of issues, but it's also one of those games where it's easy to just turn your brain off and enjoy unnecessary violence. I had fun playing through it, and I believe you will too. If hack and slash are your thing, anyway. It's goofy, it's gory, and it's just fun. Now, how am I gonna end this video though? I guess that's it.